All right, so we are here in Covina, California at Charter Oak High School. Today's episode, we have a very special guest to get to be joined by Oregon cornerback signee Solomon Davis. How we doing, man? Thanks for taking the time.
I'm doing good today, sir. It's great to be here, great to be with you, and I appreciate you taking time out of the day to come speak with me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, definitely wanted to hit the road, not too far from Long Beach, where I'm at now. But yeah, just wanted to come by and talk to you, get to learn a little bit more about you and tell some of your story. So we'll definitely talk some Ducks. We'll talk about your high school season a little bit, and then maybe a little bit kind of what the future's looking like at Oregon. So I think the high school level is a cool place to start out, just because I wasn't personally able to come see you this year. Tell me a little bit about your senior year and how you feel like things went for you.
I definitely feel like we had a good senior year, me as a player and then me as a team as a whole. We finished our season 10-0. It definitely ended a little bit shorter than we would have wanted. We ended up losing in the first round to a really good team, Yorba Linda. And so it ended earlier than we wanted, but there's definitely some memories I'll never forget, and we definitely had a good, fun season overall.
Yeah, so I think kind of from some of the people that I've talked to, I feel like playing at a school like Charter Oak or, in your guys' league, you maybe fly a little bit under the radar in the bigger scope of Southern California high school football. You guys had a great season, ended a little bit earlier than you wanted to, like you mentioned. But what were maybe some of the highlights for you as a player?
There was definitely a lot of highlights for this year because Charter Oak definitely has a long pedigree and tradition of some great football teams, some great athletes, and so we had a few down years, and so it was good to come back this year in a sense and kind of bring the legacy that Charter Oak has always had kind of back, and so it was an honor to be a part of the team that was kind of bringing the school back to where all the athletes in the past had it. So it was great this year.
You said that Charter Oak has a long-standing history, a good pedigree. Some people on the outside would maybe look at that and kind of view it as pressure, but maybe as a player, it's kind of an honor to try to be able to strive for that. How do you kind of wrap your head around that?
100%, it's an honor, just to be able to come in here every day and work with some coaches that have worked with some very good athletes in the past. And, definitely Charter Oak, we're very interactive with past athletes. Dudes in college and in the league will come back. They'll get work with us, and just to be able to work out with them, get some knowledge from them, and you can just tell, like, everybody truly loves it here, and all the people in the past, the people here now, it's definitely great.
Yeah, it's definitely a healthy relationship, healthy dynamic to have former guys come back, kind of pour into you guys and, kind of give honor to where they came from. Did you have like a mentor or someone that kind of helped you throughout the process as a Division I athlete?
Definitely. There's definitely all the athletes that have came through here definitely helped a lot. But from people from here, I definitely got to give biggest credits to my head coach, Coach Don Farrar. I mean, he emphasizes so much, of course, about football, but more so every single day on the field and off the field. He implemented life skills to us that really couldn't be replaced by anything else, and I appreciate that very much because at the end of the day, football is great and everything, but you definitely got to learn life skills, just the small things, and he always emphasized that, and we always appreciated it.
And that's one of my favorite things about football, Solomon, is that it feels like maybe more than other sports. I love other sports. Baseball was my first love. I went to a basketball school for college at Gonzaga. But it feels like more than any other sport, football maybe prepares you for life. Where are some of those lessons kind of showing up for you? Now that you're wrapped up in the high school level and you're heading off to college at Oregon, what were some of those lessons for you?
I feel like those lessons have showed up for me everywhere. Like, I've learned so much from football and from coaches in the past and coaches now, like things such as, getting a job and just having a very strong work ethic, being able to get up and give your best in everything you do. I mean, things like in the classroom, I definitely take my academics very seriously, and I could almost give credits to football for that because, you got to have your grades if you want to make it far in football too. So the lessons show up all throughout life. Things like respect, responsibility, accountability. Those are just all big things to me that I've pulled from football and applied in my daily life.
Awesome. I love to get that insight. For you as a player now, like I was saying, I didn't get to see you in person, but I want to kind of get people up to speed. Maybe they didn't know too much about you until you, at least for my audience, until you committed to Oregon or, took some visits to Oregon. Just describe yourself a little bit, as a player. I know you shine as a defensive back, but a lot of times in high school, you got to play both ways. So just get us up to speed a little bit about, what kind of a player you are.
I definitely feel like I'm a very versatile player. I mean, my whole life, my whole high school career, I've always played both sides of the ball, playing corner, returner, receiver, safety, nickel, running back. So I definitely feel like I'm a very versatile athlete. And another biggest part of my game, not more so playing, but I'm very competitive. So when I'm in an atmosphere, like a practice type of atmosphere, I feel like I make the people around me better, along with myself, which is definitely one thing I for sure take pride in. So just little things like that, I definitely think I bring to the table. But, yes, sir.
Versatility is always a big plus, whatever position you're playing, right?
Yes,
I want to say the plan for you at Oregon is to focus more at corner. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But what is it you enjoy the most about playing cornerback? Because this is not an easy spot to play.
I mean, just like you said, corners, I personally think corner is the hardest position on the field. And me, I'm someone who always loves a challenge. I mean, I feel like the defensive side of the ball just comes with so much passion, so much drive. And so for something like corner, there's so many things to it. You got an open field tackle. You have to be able to cover one-on-one where the receiver knows where they're going, and you have to anticipate. I mean, it's like they're almost the most hated position. I mean, you can have 4 pass breakups, but if you get beat for 1 touchdown, everybody's going to be on you like you suck or something. But, I have the most fun playing corner. Like, it's just so much that comes with it. I have the most fun. I'm very passionate about it, and I feel like you could work on it so much, so I love it.
And I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but are you a trash talker, or do you like to let your play do the talking? Where are you at?
I wouldn't call myself much of a trash talker. I'm definitely more laid back. I'm very fiery, so I mean, if the guy's coming at me, I'm gonna come back. But I talk on my game for sure.
Okay. And what's your favorite play or favorite sequence as a corner? Is it something as simple as an interception, or could it be locking the guy down? What's your what gets you fired up the most?
Ooh, what gets me fired up the most? I would definitely say, I mean, for me, it might sound weird, but I would definitely say seeing my preparation of film and study showing up on the field, because I feel like that's definitely not really as paid attention on, because something as little as the receiver might run a post route on 3rd and 10, and you've seen that on film 5 times, so you jumped on it and then you picked it off. That's definitely something that hypes me up and gets me really excited when I'm on the field.
Okay, yeah, so kind of a student of the game kind of approach. I can definitely appreciate that. All right, so we're getting a good feel for you as a player, and now I kind of want to talk about your recruiting a little bit, because you definitely had, an interesting recruitment with, flipping kind of late in the cycle. I don't know if you would call it a flip, I guess, because you reopened your recruitment after being committed to Arizona, and then you ended up signing with Oregon. Just tell me a little bit about what it was like kind of going through the recruiting process, because a lot of guys, it can be stressful. For some, it can be exciting. What was it like for you?
I mean, at the end of the day, at times it can for sure be stressful, but just to be able to have stress over something like recruiting is definitely a blessing, and I give all my gratitude to God for that. But yeah, it was a long journey. It was, at times it could be stressful, at times it was exciting, but at the end of the day, I learned a lot from it, and I had a good time throughout the recruitment process. It was great.
You were committed to Arizona for quite a bit before flipping to Oregon. Just kind of walk me through it. How did Oregon kind of get into the picture for you, and then ultimately why did they win out?
So I had been talking to Oregon. I was originally supposed to go on a visit to them before I had committed to Arizona, but when I was there, I loved it. I saw everything I wanted to see. So I ended up committing to Arizona, and so I wasn't really hearing much from Oregon. I was going through the season, and Coach Meat actually ended up tapping back in with me, and so that's kind of where it all got started up. I started talking to Coach Meat frequently. He got me in ties with Coach Lanning, Coach Tosh. I started seeing them. I got to go on my visits, so it was definitely moving fast, but it was a good process with them.
Okay, and you got to take a couple visits out to Oregon. I want to say there were two, pretty close together, like at the end of November, and then before you ultimately ended up becoming a Duck. We all see pictures of the amazing facilities, right? The HDC, the wall with all the gloves, all the shoes, the boxing ring, whatever it is. For someone who hasn't gotten to go behind the scenes, kind of just take us in. What's it like to go on a visit to Oregon and be recruited by the Ducks?
I've been on a lot of visits throughout this whole recruiting process, but I feel like I could tell you, and anyone who's been up there could tell you, it's a one of a kind. I mean, if we're just talking about facilities or whatever, I mean, the jerseys are cool too, but like the facilities, they're one of a kind. I mean, I'm not an architecture type of guy, but going there makes you kind of interested in architecture, just how unique and how different everything they do up there is. And even on the different on like the different side of things, like it wasn't just like walking around and looking at stuff. We got to really, sit down and talk about football. I mean, their coaches are like almost, they're very nerds of the game, and I love that. I love that we could sit down and talk football. That's always fun, but yeah, the visits are great. If anybody has the opportunity to go up there and see it, go and see it for sure.
You're the second recruit this week that's told me that Oregon's coaches are like football nerds. So that's fun to hear. Let's talk about Dan Lanning a little bit, because he's really got this program, I think, headed in the right direction. Obviously, this season kind of didn't end how people wanted to. Well, you end it with a win over North Carolina in the Holiday Bowl, but definitely losing some tough games down the stretch. Just for someone who hasn't been able to meet Dan Lanning, I've been able to meet him, but in a press conference setting, so it's maybe a little bit different than what it's like just in a one-on-one. I've heard he's a high-energy guy. I've also heard he's a chill guy, down-to-earth guy. How would you describe your new head coach?
Coach Lanning is definitely an amazing person. I mean, meeting him, when I first met him, it was definitely great. I mean, he has a lot of key principles that definitely touch very close to home for me. I mean, he's a big guy. He's a big guy on growth and development and on family and relationships, and those are all like really big things to me. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's a very chill guy, like you had said. I mean, I had the opportunity for him to come to my house for a home visit and, sit with my family. And, he was able to, talk to I have a big family. He was able to talk to all my siblings, connect with me, connect with my parents. And, he's definitely, he's a great guy. He's a great family dude. And then he's really fiery and passionate when it comes on the field. Like, when I got the opportunity to see them practice, I got to really see him, He's a very hands-on coach. He's not just, kind of standing and watching. He's in there. He's hyping the practice up. He's very fiery. You could tell how passionate and how much he really wants Oregon to do well. He's a great guy, and he's going to do a great job up there for sure.
Yeah, he sounds like he really kind of aligns with what you want to see in a coach from your perspective. Just a couple more, and then we'll maybe talk about kind of the future for you and what's up next. But we went through kind of the visit at Oregon and what that experience is like. But you said that you got to have him come by for a home visit, and I think those are visits that, from a media standpoint, we definitely can't see as much of, because you're not maybe They have like the videos sometimes of like your photo shoot when you're at campus and all that. What's it like to have a coach come in and visit your home and get to meet with your family? It seems like it's a lot more personal.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot more personal, and that's why I really am grateful for that part of the recruiting process, because, it's like when he was there, it was great, but it was almost like I forgot, like, this is the head coach of Oregon right now, because it was just so chill. I mean, we were just sitting down, eating dinner, just my whole family and him, and it was just a great time. We were just talking about, we were talking past football, we were talking about life, futures, goals and aspirations that we both have. I mean, it was good to talk to him on, a deeper level than football, and just talk about kind of life in a sense.
Awesome. Definitely some great perspective there on what your experience was like. Let's kind of look towards the future now a little bit. So you've obviously grown very close with this Oregon program. You're very familiar with it. The coaches, plenty of Southern California players, whether it's from this class or in the past classes already at Oregon. When you're looking at the opportunity in front of you to go to Eugene to play your college football, to take your next step in growing as a young man, what are you most excited about?
Super excited about just the whole process. I mean, getting up there. Of course, I'm excited about learning from the best coaches really in the country that I could ask for. Just learning things about the game, learning more things about my position. From Coach Meat, having such an amazing defensive coordinator like Coach Tosh. I mean, I'll be learning every single day, getting better on the field and getting better off the field as a person. And just I'm really excited for the process in the future that I have at Oregon.
Sweet. That's going to be a fun time for you, it sounds like. I know Eugene's a special place after living there for a couple years. How about for kind of what's next? I know a lot of Oregon fans that are going to be listening to this. They're excited to get you up there in that green and yellow. What's kind of next for you, maybe in the immediate future and then getting out to Eugene?
So as of right now, the plan is, since I wasn't able to enroll in January, I will be there for the April quarter. So I'll still get to make spring ball, which was really the biggest thing at the end of the day for me, to get there as early as I can, get myself implemented into the system, start learning, start getting better, and start preparing for this season as soon as I can get up there. So the plan is to get up there for the April 1st quarter and get there for spring ball.
Okay. And then I think a unique question that I don't feel like I ask enough, and you've been, awesome on this interview. I really appreciate everything you've shared. A lot of people looking on the outside, they don't get to see what the recruiting process is like, from a recruit's perspective. You can do the interviews, you can take photos and stuff, but what's maybe a part of the recruiting experience in today's age of college football, which has the transfer portal, which has NIL and all these crazy aspects that people didn't have to deal with so long ago? What's a part of the recruiting experience that you think doesn't get enough attention or isn't talked about enough?
100%. I think one of the parts of the recruiting process that doesn't get spoke about enough is all the relationships that you make. Because to me, at the end of the day, the world really revolves around relationships. And so with the recruiting process, you're going to meet a lot of coaches, a lot of people, get to learn about a lot of programs and how they do things. And a lot of those relationships, you might end up going somewhere that wasn't one of the coaches you were talking to, but at the end of the day, you're always going to have those coaches' numbers. You're always going to see them. And football is a very small world. So throughout the whole process, you might see some of those coaches in the league. You might see them when you're playing against them. But definitely I've made some relationships throughout this process that'll never be lost. So that's a big part of the recruiting process that I think people don't talk about enough.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely getting to make some cool connections. And I think that that's one of the toughest parts at the same time, too, because you can only choose one school, right? You kind of hear that refrain pretty often. Last one I had for you, Solomon, you're obviously excited to get out to Oregon. Is there any kind of a message you want to share with the Oregon fan base about the player, the person that's going to their program and who they're going to be rooting for on Saturdays?
I mean, you got someone going up there that's going to give it their all every single day, in and out, every minute. I'm going to be working the hardest I can, get on the field as soon as possible and make an impact. So just be ready to see me there making plays for the Oregon fan base. So I'll be there.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate the time, Solomon, and thank you to everyone that tuned in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. Go ahead and do me a favor and follow the podcast, like, comment, subscribe, and share the podcast with everyone. You guys know that's a tremendous favor for me, tremendous way to show your support. But until next time, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast.